In this video, we're going to be talking about what to do if you're laid off, furloughed, or forced into early retirement. Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue, where we learn how to make money, save money, and live well in retirement. Well, in these uncertain times, there are a lot of people being laid off, furloughed, or being offered some sort of early retirement. What next? Change is scary, no question. I mean, no one likes things to change, but sometimes things that initially seem really, really bad can be a really positive turning point. But you have to take some steps first to figure out exactly where you're at. Now, if any of these things happen to you, the very first thing you should do is figure out what benefits you currently have. Go to your employer, figure out your medical benefits, figure out your retirement benefits and what you have there. Figure out any other benefits they may have and how those are going to be affected if you are furloughed, laid off, or retire early. Now, I went through this myself. At 51, I semi-retired. I made my side gig, which was writing books and ghostwriting, my full-time job. And I learned really quickly, hey, I could work less, make more money, get my debts paid off, and then start planning for the real retirement that I wanted. It also happened to my dad. At 69, the department he worked in at a hospital closed. Well, at 69, even though he wasn't ready to quit working, the odds of him getting rehired are pretty slim. And really, he stepped back for the first time in years and thought, you know, do I really want to go back to work? Is it even an option to go ahead and retire? So we're going to talk through some of those scenarios. Now, right now is a really good time, oddly enough, to say to be unemployed or furloughed, because due to the stimulus plan, not only are states offering unemployment, but there is also an additional $600 a week stimulus money. So if you get laid off or furloughed, that is going to alleviate some of those financial concerns that everyone has when they're laid off or furloughed or forced into early retirement. The initial concern is financial. How am I going to cover my bills? And go ahead, if you're not sure if you qualify, go ahead and fill out the paperwork. Go ahead and get online and fill everything out, and they'll let you know. Better for them to say no than for you to later realize you could have qualified and just didn't apply. So apply. Now, the second part is medical. Now, when you leave an employer, take early retirement, whatever, most employers will put you on COBRA insurance. What that means is when you're with an employer, you usually pay a percentage of your medical insurance and the employer pays a percentage. Not always, but in most cases, that's how it works. When you leave and you're terminated or furloughed, usually terminated, most furloughed people, depending on the situation, they'll retain their insurance until the company decides for sure if they're going to bring them back or not. Not in all cases. Check with your employer. But in most cases, you will get a letter saying, hey, you're eligible for COBRA. You now have to pay the full amount if you want to stay on their insurance. That's your choice. But usually that expense is tremendous. If you are below a certain income level, you are given an allowance by the federal government to be used for health insurance. Now, clearly, if you're over Medicare age, then you can just get onto Medicare. But this is especially important for people in their 50s because you're not old enough to qualify for Medicare, but if you go out and try to buy individual health insurance on your own at that age, it is extremely expensive. So this plan fills that gap. So it's something you really have to investigate. Now, if you're thinking you might be able to go ahead and retire and you're not sure, there are several things you need to check out first. Number one, depending on your age, and if you're near Social Security age, you want to get on the Social Security website. It's ssa.gov, and you can request or view your statement that projects what your benefits will be. And you can do this for you and your spouse. You can get on there and see what the projected payout is for Social Security. That's a good number to know. Number two, if you are a veteran or the spouse of a veteran, you can go to benefits.va.gov and it will tell you what benefits are there. It is surprising, especially for people who are spouses of veterans. They don't realize there are a lot of benefits there. There are medical benefits, there are housing benefits, there are all kinds of things the VA can pay for. Now in my dad's case, he is a veteran. So his health care is through the VA. He was able to get his cataracts removed. He was able to get his hearing aids replaced. He had a lot of benefits that were available, and he was able to take advantage of those once he decided he was going to go ahead and retire. Another thing to look at is any sort of disability benefits, and this definitely applies to people who have been in the military, definitely. Now, a lot of people have the idea that in order to get disability benefits, you have to be absolutely, completely disabled. And that's not true. For disability, they determine a percentage of effect it has had on you. And let me give you an example. My dad was in Vietnam, and he was in an area that was heavily sprayed with Agent Orange. Well, over the years, he's had a few little skin cancers here and there on his face, and they've been there repeatedly, and on his ears. And he's also had some hearing loss. And so when he went in to check about that, he discovered he was approved for 100% disability, which he had no idea he would be approved for that at all, let alone at that percentage. Well, at that point, he realized he could have retired years ago had he just known about that one benefit. So it always pays to check all of your benefits, because at any time you could actually choose to step back and either retire or partially retire and do what you want. Now, once you know what benefits you actually have, how much retirement you have, what your medical issues are going to be as far as getting medical coverage, any possible payouts for any other kind of benefit you have, the next step is to look at your retirement funds. Now, a lot of people these days, you may have a pension, you may have a 401k. 401ks are becoming much more common. A lot of people decide they want to just leave the 401k with the company they just left. But you really want to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, you become a very low priority once you no longer work for that company. And while your funds are safe, if that company is bought out, if that company goes into bankruptcy, you may have a struggle getting to that money. Even if the company is completely sound and a great company, and you decide you want to have access to that money, like something like this pandemic happens, if you're already separated from the company, you may not be able to get to it. You may not have access to loans, depending on their plan document. You may not have access to any of that once you leave the company. If you roll that out into your own personal 401k or your own personal IRA, you would have immediate access to that money. You also have complete control over that money. You can choose completely different investment options in your own personal account than you can in that company account, because they're set for that company. So I always tell people, rather than have 3 or 4 little accounts at all these different companies, always roll it out into your own account. It'll be in one account, super easy to administer. You can get great financial advice from financial advisors and not feel like you're having to go it all alone. Now, the second subject, and this is really a huge subject, so I'm just going to kind of touch on it, but realize when we talk about pensions, there is a lot there. The pension structure in this country was already teetering on the edge. Pensions, generally speaking, have been underfunded for decades. A lot of them have. Not all, but a lot of them have. They've been underfunded for decades. And everyone thinks, well, my pension's guaranteed. Well, it's only guaranteed to a certain point. And if you happen to have a pension fund that's not covered by that guarantee, you could be SOL if that company goes out of business or if they fold. So you want to be really aware of what you have. And we all know, especially given this pandemic and the fall in the stock market, there were so many of those pension plans already teetering on the edge, and the pension guarantee fund before the pandemic was predicted to be absolutely insolvent in 2025 that's going to happen faster. And so if you get a buyout, if they offer you a buyout for your pension or something of that nature, depending on your age, and please consult your financial advisor, you may be wise to go ahead and get what you can get while you can get it. In other words, take a lump sum. The younger you are, the more that works for you. Now, if you're right at retirement age, that's going to be a question you need to talk to a financial advisor about and a tax advisor about, because there's going to be a lot of changes in pension plans over the next 5 to 10 years. A lot of them will go away. A lot of them will be bought out. And so there are going to be some changes there. So you have to figure out what's best for you. The younger you are, the better option is usually go ahead and take the lump sum, get your money while you can get it, and you invest your money. And that way, no matter what, 10, 15, 20 years later, that money's still there. You don't have to depend on some kind of government, hopefully solvent fund to save you if that company doesn't fund their pension plan. And so you want to really prepare yourself now, even if you're in a good spot and you know these things could happen. Start thinking about them now. Go ahead and go to HR, get your paperwork, or go to your union if you're a union shop. Get your paperwork, know what you have. What do you have in life insurance? What do you have in health insurance? What are the options if you happen to lose those benefits or those benefits change? Always be prepared and thinking ahead, because when there is major chaos, that fear can paralyze you. So don't let it paralyze you. Think about what's next in your life. And if you get the chance to retire early, by all means, embrace it and live the life you want to live. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.